Welcome to the Plague Hive. Today we're bringing you the latest evolution of Redline Uzuri, and I'm joined by both Ben, who first came up with the list, as well as Colin, who piloted this latest iteration to a very impressive 10th place at the Calling Baltimore, an event with almost 1,000 players. We're going to go over the deck first, how it has adapted to the current meta and what is new. And if you want to check out the original iteration, there's an excellent deck tech video over on the Savage Lands news channel where Ben goes over the deck list in detail. Going to put a link to that down in the description. This is, like I said, the sort of evolution of that deck, so the latest iteration of it that was specifically created with the intent of taking it to the Pro Tour with the meta in mind that would likely be encountered there. So the list differs from the first iteration in a couple of places. The core of the deck is still the same, right? It's a stealth-based build. There's a bunch of mind games, threatening swaps with Uzuri's hero ability, but what's the new stuff? How did you guys actually change the deck to go over and prepare for Baltimore? So let's check this out.
Yeah, well, going into Baltimore, obviously the main thing you're thinking about is what are we going to be up against? Mm-hmm. You know, who is Colin going to have to fight? And there was kind of the big three were Lexi, Oldhim, and Dromai.
Right.
Is what everyone was thinking about. And so this deck, we tried to tech to be good into all of those matchups.
Okay.
So we can go over the stuff that's, the same real quick. Mm-hmm. Same equipment.
Yeah.
All this equipment's great. Crown, tunic, nerve scalpel. Love all of this stuff.
Yeah.
You've still got the classic Uzuri power cards, CNC, Shakedown, Death Touch.
Sure.
9 Isolate, very important. Yep. Leave No Witness, Codex. It's all there.
Yep. That's the good stuff. There's no reason to take this out of the deck, right? Like, it's just all of these cards are good, so you run them.
We're running Surgical in this list, which was not in the original.
Yep, I remember that, yeah.
Because Surgical in the Metaverse Lexi is very useful. Stripping, one of their power cards, you take that 3 of a kind out of their hand, you take their maybe one of their, if you're versing Azalea, another deck that people were thinking very highly of, you take their 1 arrow out of hand. It just, the on-hit's very relevant in this meta, and having a couple extra blues doesn't hurt.
Yeah, true. And I remember, I've played a bunch of games with Uzuri by now, right? And you think of Shakedown as basically just being, this is surgical extraction for 2 more damage. But it's really not. You can whiff on Shakedown. You announce red and they don't have a red card in hand, right? And then it's just okay, they don't have a red, so their turn's going to be, not as good as it could be anyways. But not getting the banish to go off is still kind of right? Or you announce red and they have a red, but you see that they also have a power card that's a yellow, like a Codex of Frailty or something. And you're I wish I would have said yellow now so I could have taken that. And with Surgical, you just don't have that. You can just go okay, let me see your whole hand, and I'm going to take whatever I think disrupts your turn the most, And it's really a freedom you don't get with Shakedown, even though the effects of them seem to be very similar at first glance.
I mean, Surgical is a lot harder to hit. It's at a break point where 1 Sink Blow is all it takes, or 1 Oasis Respite is all it takes to really shut it down.
True.
But what you get from both of these cards is hand knowledge. You get to know what they're playing for the next turn is, and how you can block efficiently to stop their game plan.
True. What to prioritize, that's true. Yeah. That's a very good secondary effect from both of these cards, yeah, definitely. All right, so we got Surgical. I remember when you first made the deck tech video, and I think the most common question was why no Surgical? immediately followed by why yellow rebel? Like, I think those were the two most common questions on that video, pretty much.
Yeah. I stand by those choices at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I get it.
But obviously, when you have a more accurate meta knowledge and it's less of an open field, things change. We're on Hurl, kind of over
down here,
just mainly for the Dromai matchup.
So this kind of slots in over the yellow rebels, I guess, right? It's like the direct replacement.
But mainly the same niche.
Yeah, exactly. And mainly because we found that in the matchups where we were bringing it in, we, like, when you're versing Dromai, when you're versing Oldhim, and this card is what you want, you're not planning on pitching it in either of those matchups.
Right.
And with Icelander looking to be less of the format, you know, having extra yellows in the sideboard is less important.
Right. Makes sense, especially because you're also running a couple of extra blues in the form of these surgicals, right? So you've got like the resource base kind of already covered in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay.
The secondary cost of Hurl is also something to take into consideration as well. I have won a lot of games from that secondary effect where something like a Dash can force you to block with your Flick Knives, and they go down to 1, and suddenly Hurl presents unblockable lethal damage that can only be prevented.
Yeah. And you could get it back like specifically for that purpose, right? Like if you have a Codex left, or you have like a, I don't know, Remembrance. I can see you're on like a single copy of Remembrance. You can actually get a Hurl back for that specific purpose, you know, if you wanted to. Which is not a card you would normally think of getting back, right? With a Codex of Frailty, because it's like, okay, it's 3 damage, you know. It's not that impactful, but if you just need 1 damage to actually connect, yeah, Hurl does the job. That's true. Okay, what are some other changes? Like, let me see if I can spot them actually. Like, I think this core, except for the surgical, looks pretty much the same. It's not a
Most of the changes are in the sideboard.
Yeah, mostly the sideboard. So I see triple down and dirty. I assume this is like for Dromai, and then also the mirror and other matchups that have Codex of Frailty, maybe?
It's primarily for Dromai and Oldhim. And
okay,
the Codex, bringing it back to defend with, isn't something that we rate very highly.
Okay.
That's not why we're running it. But the Dromai matchup is tough for Uzuri, and we put a lot of time into improving that and getting that to a point where it wasn't a loss, and we felt we had real game into them. And Down and Dirty does a lot of work in that matchup.
Yeah, it just allows you to play out actual 4-card hands, you know? You don't have to keep a popper in hand and play with what effectively amounts to like an intellect penalty. You can just pop that in Arsenal, have it sit there for when you need it, and just play out your turns. Otherwise, it's great. But why specifically for Oldhim? Like, just because it's another 6 attack that you can use to push through some damage, or simply because it's Oldhim, I'm going to run the entire pile anyway, so it ends up there as sort of like a byproduct?
Oldhim is just mostly about pushing damage. It's a slow race, but it's a race that nonetheless.
Right. So you're like, if my turn is isolate into Down and Dirty and I can make that, you know, convert into 3 damage, I'm still happy with that.
It's still also a great bluff.
True. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like, against Oldhim, Command and Conquer is kind of just 6 vanilla damage in a lot of cases, right? Because, like, they're not going to have an arsenal by the time it connects, and they have so many ways to play around the damage without using a defense reaction. The other line also doesn't matter that much, so it's kind of the same in a lot of situations, actually. Yeah, it makes sense. And then we have Frailty Traps. just a good card.
Lexi.
Yeah. Against Lexi, this is like, it's a card that costs nothing and defends for 6 frequently, which is insane.
Not to mention, it can shut off entire turns on its own.
Yep. True. So for anyone wondering how that works, if Lexi loads a Bolton shot and gives it +1 from Voltaire, so it gains Go Again, and then you play Frailty Trap, that triggers because the Bolton shot has Go Again, right? And then they get a Frailty token, and that applies retroactively, so the Bolton shot actually loses Go Again, and then their turn is just dead unless they commit Snapdragons. It's not going to come up like a ton, because like a Lexi player that knows the matchup is going to try to play around that. But if it turns up, it's very, very nice to have that just shut them down completely. Very good effect.
And the floor of Frailty Trap versus Lexi is like a 0 for 5, which is just obscene.
Yep. That's true.
It's too good not to run.
Yep. No, absolutely.
So on my version of the list, I'm on 3. I think, Colin, you said after the Pro Tour you would probably switch to 3 as well.
I'm honestly more in love with Inertia Trap more than I am with Frailty Trap personally, but I think that's just differences in our playstyles.
Yeah, that's fair. We definitely have different takes on the deck. I'll leave you to answer Oasis since that's your favorite.
Oasis is such a fun card. It blocks for 1 for 5. In some matchups where you can rarely use your Tunic, it comes in very handy. And you don't instantly lose to Kano.
That's a big part, yeah. Like, I mean, it's not going to be super relevant, right? Because, like, Kano's not played a lot. But it definitely goes a long way to go from, hey, I can just, fold when I see one, to, okay, if I find an Oasis early enough, I have a chance at actually winning this thing. So definitely, I run it too. I think I'm on 2 in my current list. But it's a card that, for me, I always draw it at the most inopportune times. Like every time I see Oasis, it's on a turn where I just spent the Tunic the turn before, something like that, or I'll keep sitting on a Tunic counter thinking that I would see an Oasis soon. I've actually had that happen in like a match versus that was like a while ago, and I think I'm not sure if I was playing Uzuri back then. I was playing against the Bravo, and we were down to like the last couple of cards in the deck, and I was sitting on the Tunic counter the entire time, thinking, hey, I have 1 Oasis left in the deck because I already played 2 of them, right? And he was like, yeah, okay, I can't play this Pummel because he has Oasis, And then at the end of the match, I actually figured out, nope, there was no third Oasis. I never put 3 in the deck, actually. I only had 2 of them. So it's like, yeah, it's a card that can clunk you up a little bit. But I definitely see the value also because it allows you to effectively, can play it out from hand against an Azalea, against a Bravo that does like some dominatrix or something. You don't have to get it in Arsenal to be able to use it against Dominate. So I can definitely see it. It's a good card. Yep.
Also, going into Proto Baltimore, Azalea was kind of the ranger that everyone had seen and heard of and was,
scared of,
aware of. Lexi was starting to rise up as, hey, Lexi's a good pick. This Lexi deck seems really strong. But there was still, after the Proto, now everyone's like, doesn't care about Azalea and Lexi is the top dog. But going into that, it was a bit more of a kind of 50-50. And for us, the Azalea matchup's harder than the Lexi matchup.
Makes sense, yeah.
Just because they dominate gets around our blocking, which we want to do. Versus Lexi, you can just block out and then play your strong power cards when you find them, and it's all good. Yeah,
makes sense. Like Lexi gives you a lot more agency on when you want to block.
Yes.
Compared to Azalea. So, Aces totally makes sense, yeah. I mean, also, right, like, I mean, it's not, I wouldn't discount Azalea entirely, right? Like, I mean, an Azalea made top 8 at the Pro Tour. Like, it's not like the deck is complete trash or anything, right? Lexi is unquestionably better. But I think you could still expect to run into an Azalea or two at your Road to Nationals or whatever event you're going to, especially if you know a couple of players in your local area, like to play her. Because she still has this cult following, right? Like Azalea is one of those heroes where you get a bunch of people that just want to play Azalea, and they don't really care if she's good or not in the meta. They just play Azalea. It's very similar to Levia in that regard.
I mean, they have their own cult and everything.
They do. Mm-hmm. It's a thing. Right, okay. So next on the list, we got Rainbow Shreds. I think that's no real surprise. Those were in the original list as well. Fantastic card for any matchup that wants to block. A 0/4 attack reaction. Red Shred is just insane because you can counter Sink Below with it. No other attack reaction in the game can do that for free. So that's pretty good. Do you have any insights on Shred, or is this just it's Shred, it's good, run it?
As someone who comes from Dorinthia, I wish I had a card like Shred in Dory, because it is such an overrated card.
Yep. 0/4 is, or 0/3 as a yellow is disgusting, really. It's really good. Also, the fact that it works on any assassin attack is great, because it's the only one that we have that does that, right? You've got Razor's Edge, which only works on stealth. You got Cut to the Chase, which only works on contract. And I guess you have Concealed Blade, which works on anything, but it's only a 4+1, so, it's a little bit weaker.
Not to mention it blocks trees, so its versatility is also super high.
Really good card, generally. Then you got the Sink Belows, makes sense. Best defense reaction in the game, generally speaking. So it's just you would run Sink over Fate Foreseen, I think, any day of the week.
Yeah.
Because it's just
we have cut Fate for some of the other defensive tools that are more meta relevant, these other areas.
Yep, makes sense. So what would you say, because I've seen there's a bunch of talk about what the ideal number of purely defensive options is for Uzuri. I've seen the number 8 float around a lot. You can dedicate 8 slots in your sideboard for pure defense choices, so stuff like Oasis, Frailty Trap or something. So what's your thought on this? How many would you run if you were given the choice? What's the maximum amount you would go to?
I think 9 is the maximum for a Redline list.
Okay.
The number can change with the differing amounts of cards you're running. Skyfish probably runs a lot more defensive cards, but for Redline, 9 is absolute maximum, 6 is minimum.
Okay.
Yeah. I agree with that exactly. I think you can go up to a full play set of 9 and it feels good. You can play only 6 and it feels good. It just kind of depends where you're leaning, play style, matchups, etc.
Right. Okay. Makes sense, yeah. So this particular iteration is on 7, so that falls in that range. Makes sense. And then you just kind of probably go 3 sinks, and then the other ones you kind of just choose which ones you like the most for the meta that you expect to go up against.
Yeah.
So if you expect to see a lot of Dominate, a lot of Wizards, a lot of Viscerai, for example, you could go Aces Respite. If you expect to see a lot of Lexi, Frailty Trap's a good choice, right? If you expect to see a lot of Azalea, Inertia Trap could be a good idea. You can just kind of adapt these defensive choices to whatever your meta is looking like. So if you have a rough time at an armory, for example, you play against a local guy who always beats you on Lexi, try Frailty Trap, for example, so you can sort of adapt. I think a lot of Assassin's strengths as a class is this adaptability, where you can adapt both your offensive and your defensive tools in a lot of different directions depending on which meta you're expecting, right? It's a very toolbox kind of class with a lot of, despite having a relatively small card pool, it already feels a bit like this toolbox class where you can adapt to different decks to try to hit them.
100%. I think Uzuri, is one of those decks like Oldham that if it wants to beat someone, it can.
Yep.
It's just how many slots are you willing to give? Because she has the tools. She has a versatile game plan. She's mid-range. She can go more aggro. She can go more defensive. Like, she can do it. It's just like, how are you going to approach it?
Yeah. What are you willing to sacrifice to get there, basically? Because at the same time, I think she's also a deck that's never going to be good against everything, right? Like, you can't build an Uzuri list where you can go like, okay, I can take this into an event and I have a 50% or better chance into every deck. Like, I mean,
what deck can say that?
I mean, Oldhim to an extent, I think, has very few really bad matchups. But yeah, I mean, no deck can really say that. That's true. Like, if any deck could say that, the game would be broken fundamentally, I think, to some extent.
Then we'd be back in Starvo meta.
Starvo meta, yeah. That's true. And even Starvo didn't have, like, only free wins, right? Like, I think the Prism matchup was still kind of miserable for him, so, because it's Prism. But let's not get into that. Like, I'm not looking forward to seeing Prism back in the game. Let's put it that way.
Right. One other important difference, and this was Colin's idea, is you see Remembrance here.
Yep.
Instead of Scale Peeler.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've talked with Colin a little bit about it, like why not to run Scale Peeler, and I think I get the idea behind it, right? You're like, okay, Oldhims have pivoted away from running Rampart because they see if they run Rampart and we bring Scale Peeler and Vambrace, it actually makes their matchup a lot worse because they're basically just running the Rampart for no effect because we can just go Scale Peeler, Vambrace their Crown, and then their equipment doesn't do anything. So they started using Sledge of Anvilheim or sometimes Anothos to kind of counter that by simply going, yeah, okay, you deny me the shield, so I'm just not going to run the shield, right? So I guess it makes sense to take the Scale Peeler out. I'm not entirely sure I would be, let's say, confident enough in my opponents to actually do that on a local level, right? And I think that's an important preface to that, because if you're taking this deck and you're going to like Pro Tour, a Calling or something, I think you can expect your opponents to be on a level of game knowledge where they go like, okay, I know that into Uzuri I have to bring Sledge or I have to bring Anothos because they have Scale Peeler. So you're kind of in this like double mind game scenario where you can actually take Scale Peeler out of the deck simply because you know the fact that you could bring it means that your opponent can't run Rampart into you. So you can actually save one sideboard space. But I think if you're bringing this deck to like a local event, like a Road to Nationals or something, there's still a decent chance that any Oldhim you might face might be a player who actually doesn't know that, right? That they're supposed to bring Sledge into this matchup because they're like, hey, I have Rampart and I love Rampart and I play it into every deck and it works great for me so far. So they run Rampart and then you don't actually have the Scale Peeler. And I think that could be pretty problematic. Or of course, if you get into like actually very high tables, right, at a competitive event where it's like open deck lists and then your Oldhim opponent sees, hey, you don't have Scale Peeler in your list. So I'm free to bring Rampart now. So I would keep it in the deck. But honestly, I'll defer to you guys because you're the ones who actually play this at competitive events, right? Like I'm not. So Colin, if you say taking Scale Peeler out is the correct choice and you don't really need it into Oldhim anymore because they're not going to run Rampart into you no matter what, I'll trust your judgment on this because frankly, you know better. So.
I mean, Remembrance is such a great card. It's not just for Oldhim. It's for a variety of matchups. The Mirror, it puts in a lot of work. Bravo can put in work.
Dromai.
It's just...
get some poppers back, you know.
I don't run it versus Dromai. That's more of a Skyfish thing, but...
Right.
Yeah, versus Dromai, we found that you have to play very aggressively to win. That's your road to victory. Okay. It doesn't always work, but that's your best chance.
Okay. So you just try to pressure them early and not give them the breathing room to sort of set up a board state that would be critical.
The more they're blocking, the better for you.
Okay.
Exactly. What Red said.
So are you actually, like, what's your approach to clearing board state then in the Dromai matchup? Like, do you actually ignore some dragons to continue going for their face? Or do you clear dragons when they set them up? Is there like what's kind of the strategy there?
There's a rough priority of which dragons to kill. If it's early in the game, Mirgai, Dromai, Kyloria, pretty much any dragon that can pose a problem down the line, you should probably kill it. Kyloria is probably best given to a popper, but if they bring out a Dromai or a Mirgai, it's a kill ASAP. Mid game, Dromai still kill ASAP, but Mirgai, it's mostly if you have like a Ravenous Rabble or a Fork Go Again card that can easily deal with it, then deal with it. Late game is just all face.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. As Colin said, you're kind of, at the start of the game, you're willing to clear dragons the most, and then you start ignoring them more and more and more
as the game goes on.
As the game continues.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, this is still like Dromai is a matchup I'm having a lot of trouble with. Like, even into Dromai pilots that are like, you know, not crazy good or anything, like just your average Dromai pilot. It's a struggle for me personally, right? It's hard. Like, I haven't really found a good rhythm to play that matchup where I can be like, okay, I mean, it's never going to be a great matchup for Uzuri, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's a world where you can be like, yeah, this is a matchup where I feel confident that I have a very good chance of winning it. You know, it's always going to be a bit of an uphill battle, I think. But I haven't even gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, this is something where I like, okay, I have a decent shot at doing this if things line up a little bit my way, you know? But oh well, that's how it goes.
I think one other thing to say about the Remembrance swap is I initially was uncomfortable with it, kind of in a similar way that you talked about. Is like, well, you know, they still bring they still bring the, you know, the Ram's Head, and you know, that's a huge impact. And the way that you win versus Oldham, one of you is going to die before you fatigue.
Okay, right.
That's just how it always plays out.
Okay.
What Colin said is it's a very slow race.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's very insightful and a very good way of thinking about it. It's actually a race. You're trying to kill them before they can kill you. It's just a very, very defensive, grindy battle.
So it's like it's a race where you deal like, I don't know, 1 or 2 points of damage per turn. But it's still a race where the goal is to kill each other and not drive them out of cards, basically. Okay. Makes sense.
That's a list Contract will more focus on, but in Redline, it's all about damage. It's all about reducing your opponent's life points to 0. That's how you win.
Makes sense, yeah. Yeah, because like you don't have these, you know, additional tools of contracts where you can banish cards and kind of accelerate your fatigue. Your break points are a little bit worse, so your single card hands are a little bit worse, you know, that sort of thing. So you have to naturally block a little bit less than a contract list might, just because of the way the deck operates.
Yeah, and Remembrance, as far as, you know, you might look at that and it looks like a fatigue, but it's actually, it lets you bring back, because your isolates just cycle infinitely because you don't spend them. So you have that dominate. What you run out of is the cards to swap in, like Down and Dirty, CNC, Shakedown, Death Touch. Remembrance lets you bring them back to push damage through. Also, you can bring back 3 Codex with 1 Remembrance.
Right.
And then you get 6 Codex turns.
Yep.
And Codex is very good because you can strip a card from their hand, put it into their arsenal after they've Crown of Seeds. Yep. And then you get to push damage through because that card is no longer able to block.
Yeah.
So with Remembrance, you can get 6 Codex turns. You can get more dominate. It gives you more damage that you can push through.
Yeah, and I mean, like their swing back turn is probably gonna be like either a Nothos or a Sledge, right? So Codex of Frailty actually saves you 1 health. because their weapon now comes in for 1 less damage, right? Or they play out whatever they got into arsenal, and then that's still 1 damage less that you're taking, right? So that's pretty good, actually. Or they have to take an entire off turn, in which case, hey, still pretty good. Let's see what else we got. We got Arcane Lantern. Yeah, only source of AB. That hasn't changed. Makes sense, because, you know, you got, what, 7 blues in the deck, so AB2 isn't realistically going to do a lot.
Nope.
And you've got our aces to sort of shore up the Kano matchup a little bit. So that makes sense. Snapdragons, I assume, is still for like Oldhim, Turtle Dash, anything where you think you're not gonna get to actually activate the black text, right? So I suppose
You're also within Dromai.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. Same reasoning, right? Because they try to be a little or a lot defensive. Also because black text doesn't work on dragons, so
Exactly.
you can't really activate it. Yeah, I wish it would. I wish it worked on dragons. I think we all do. That would make the matchup a lot easier, actually.
It would.
Yeah, and then Vambrace again. Yeah, Oldhim, sure. I'm curious to see how relevant this will be into the new Prism, personally, because I think this card is still a little bit underrated currently. And if we get a hero that is centered around prevention effects, like with the ward effects that she will have, this could be a pretty relevant card, actually, in the matchup.
I think Vambrace is very powerful.
Yep.
Just any equipment that has a resource sink ability on it
Yep.
is way better than it looks.
Yeah, I fully agree. The last one, Plague Hive, obviously a card that I like a lot, just because of the name, obviously. No, but it's a great card. Plague Hive is just, yeah, what can I say about this? It's an amazing card into a lot of matchups, actually. Basically, I personally run it everywhere where either I expect to see it more than once per game, or where every single token would have some relevance, right? So basically, like Oldhim, obviously, Ninja, Runeblade, just because I want to pitch, right, specifically for Viserai. Every Ranger, obviously, so it's just a good card.
Yeah, I mean, the Afflictions, Inertia, Frailty, and Blood Rod are just quite relevant in a lot of matchups. And, you know, yellow pitch, you can play your CNC with it. You can Spider's Bite with it. It just does work.
Yep. Like, the only situation I found where Plague Hive could be a little bit of a liability is if you're going for a very fatigue-heavy list. So like something that Skyfish would run, right? Where you want to have a bunch of blues in your hand late game to activate last-ditch effort. It's really like the only situation where Plague Hive can be a little bit inconvenient. Because then you need to line it up with Tunic in order to get the full 3 value from it, you know, and it's not insane.
Fatigue?
But yeah.
What is this?
Let's disregard
no
it.
talk of fatigue near my deck.
This is a Redline list. We're not about the fatigue. This is all damage. All right. Okay, so this is the deck. We went over everything. And again, like, this whole deck list will be in the description of the video, so you can check it out yourself. And Colin's gone through the trouble of actually putting a bunch of matchups in here as well. So this is like, right, full matchup sideboard guide. So if you want to play this on Talishar, you can, and you just need to click the button and it'll show you the matchups for that. And I think we went over basically all of this already. Is there anything specifically in here that you want to go over a little bit, maybe?
I mostly want to go over Dromai, since that is pretty much the assassin killer.
Yep, makes a lot of sense, yes.
So I remember Red telling me this once, but Dromai kind of goes in 3 sections of the game. Around like 40 to 25 HP. You're mostly just focusing down the dragons, just popping them where you can, just devoting most of your turn to managing the board state. Around like 25 to 10 HP, it focuses more on sending more damage to the Dromai and popping where you can, but it's not a huge priority. once you get to around 10 HP or so, it's just all out damage race onto the Dromai, just trying to kill them before you can kill they kill you.
Just ignore the dragons basically and hope you get maybe a popper to stop their turn and then just keep pressure.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
One thing I will say is if the game is going well for you, right, that is what the game plan looks like. If the Dromai, you know, their hands are lining up or you're not getting enough pressure and they're just taking the damage and they've got this big board, and, you know, if it doesn't quite, if it's going badly for you, which, you know, sometimes it does, it's a very tough match, that point that you start committing everything to face starts moving up to higher life totals because you need to try and kill them at some point. And ideally, that's going to get to like 10. But sometimes that has to be when they're at 15. Sometimes that has to be when they're at 25. You know, like I've had games where I'm on 10 health and they're on 25 health, and I'm like, well, I can't keep clearing their dragons. I have to try and shift to the end game because otherwise I'm going to die.
Yeah, okay, makes sense.
And I've gotten them, you know, from that position down to like 2 health.
Okay.
Which is like a lot better than just bleeding out and dying to dragons slowly.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Yeah.
You have to go for it. And so that's kind of what that whole game plan is. You're trying to set yourself up to be in a position for where you can go for it. Because Uzuri gets exponentially stronger the more your opponent is worried about their life total.
Makes sense, yeah. Because then they start blocking out, like especially in a red line list, right? Where you're not playing your threats face up, right? So any stealth card you play could be 6 damage or even 8 damage if they don't block it and it's a death touch and you give them a blood rot, you know?
Or it's a spike with blood rot into a razors and it's 9 out of nowhere. You know?
True, yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, yeah. Because you can push pretty relevant amounts of damage if they don't block your stuff, you know? And even if they block it, right, you can just go over it and just send more damage and make them hurt that way. And now they gave you a couple of cards and they're not really doing anything. That's true. That's a good point. But yeah, Dromai matchup. Like I gotta get a feature match versus a Dromai down one of these days. Actually, like we could do that. We could ask for a Dromai, see how that goes. Might not be a win, but that might be educating. What do you guys think? Should we give that a try?
Sure. Let's do this.
All right. Let's see how it goes, guys. So I got this lined up here. This is Teleshar, obviously. This is the deck. So I'm gonna actually ask for a Dromai. Let's see how that goes. Might not win, but hey, who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely still unfavored. But if we click on Dromai and take a look at what the sideboard looks like, let's... Yeah, nice.
So we got the Plague Hive out, which makes sense because Frailty doesn't do anything and you're trying to kill them before second cycle.
Definitely.
Frailty Trap, same reason. Sink Billows. I mean, they're nice against Caloria, but that's pretty much it. They slow you down.
If it goes to that point, Caloria can take your silver, but that's what you kind of want it for.
Yeah, makes sense. Remembrance.
Yeah, the silver thing is actually a very useful trick. There's a couple tricks in this matchup, but like getting silver is really good because they think they're going to draw a card, and then they just
get the silver. Yeah, that's true. And you're not running black text, so it doesn't even hurt losing it. You know, makes sense.
Exactly.
And yeah, Oasis again, same reason. Like defensive options aren't gonna help you win the race. I'm interested to see you took like 2 isolates out. What's the idea there? Just it's the stealth card that pushes the least amount of damage, or?
So that's yellow isolate out for yellow shred in.
Okay, right. Push over some of their defense. Yeah, makes sense.
And because the red stealths you want because they're good for pushing damage, and you prefer the blue because you can like clear an Ashwing or dagger into Tunic into something else.
Also makes sense, yeah. Right, and then equipment, yeah, Snapdragons, Double Dagger. That's the stuff I would expect here. Like, there's no surprises there. Like,
We don't run any AB because this is primarily a race. We
Yep.
don't want to be playing defensive at all. We want to be on the offensive all the time.
You get forced to play defensively. That's, when we're saying that this isn't a race and you need to be trying to attack them all the time, you'll see us actually take a lot of time on off turns.
Yeah.
But that's because we're being forced to, right? It's what you want to be doing is attacking.
Yeah.
Another little trick in this matchup, don't flick your Nerve Scalpel at them. Save it for sand cover.
Yep.
Because you can destroy a whole sand cover with one flick knives.
And you probably don't want to do it too early. That's the other big thing. If you get rid of your dagger way too early, you don't have enough to send at Ashwings, and you just get overwhelmed by Ashwings.
Oh, hey, and they're actually a fan of the channel. So shout out to you, Fafix or Fufix, not sure. So yeah, we are keeping up with the content here. That's the idea. That's why we're doing this. Love to see that it's actually being received well by people. Very nice.
Oh, I'm nervous. Dromai, tough match. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good learning experience, right, for all of us, especially for me. But we already had a Lexi matchup on the Didactech video that I did with Archon on the contract list, and we had the Oldhim matchup on the channel already. And I just recorded a video with Colin where we went over the Lexi matchup for the game that he did versus Michael Hamilton at the Pro Tour. So we have like some of those. So I figured getting a Dromai matchup here would actually be a pretty good idea. Okay, there we go. Nice.
Ooh, interesting hand. Interesting.
Okay, so they go first. I like this. This is a pretty interesting hand because we could go like Infect into Spike. Maybe they attack. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah,
I'm blocking with both spikes here.
You're blocking with both spikes here. Okay.
I agree. I also agree.
Okay. And then just go Infect into CNC or hopefully draw like an Isolate. Okay.
Let's see what we draw.
Yep. All right. Works for me.
Because you don't want to waste a popper on the first turn like this when you don't have to.
Yeah, no. That makes sense. You're not blocking with
and you're giving him free Ash.
Yep. True. That makes sense.
Oh, this is a really good turn.
Nimblism, Infect, Razor's Edge? Or just play the CNC? What's the play here?
Nimblism, Infect, RE. Such a great turn one.
And then Arsenal the CNC, or keep it in hand as a popper?
Arsenal it.
Arsenal it, okay.
Always Arsenal.
Yep.
The reason why you always want to Arsenal in the beginning is because you can kind of Providence it away if you need to.
Yep, makes sense. While you have the crown up, you can Arsenal anything and it's never going to get clogged. That's true. So they're not blocking. I guess we're still sending the Razor's Edge. Just it's more damage. Makes sense.
If they're taking
so
9,
really good.
They're eating 9. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
they must have a really crazy hand.
Nice. Okay, drew into a popper, so that's good. If they play something we're scared of, we're safe.
And we got the double Rabble to maybe clear some dragons. And they're using Mage Masters. Okay, so they might have a tome. Okay, they have the tome, yeah. Okay, it makes sense then.
We're seeing a lot of their blues, which I'm happy about. They're not generating Ash.
Yeah. And we got the passing out of the way, so we don't have to worry about that later. Because they're probably not on 3. Like, maybe they're on 3, but most likely they're on 2. And we've seen both of them. So we know that card's not going to be around anymore.
Oh, Necria. Nice. This would be scary if you don't have a popper here. Oh, Mirage.
Or they have a mirror guy. Yeah.
You were saying?
I was saying.
Just let it hit.
Probably just
I would block shred.
block with the shred maybe, right? 'Cause,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we
you can do
got
that.
nothing to actually play the shred, so yeah. Okay, just gonna pass. Just gonna let that hit. I mean, it gives them some ash, but you know, anything I would block with would still give them the ash, so I don't think I have an option here. So my turn is probably just rabble into. Wait,
Rabble hit the mirror guy.
did I not block with the shred here?
You did not.
Why did I not block with the shred? The hell? Hey, I pressed shred. Well, okay.
You know, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yeah. Probably not an ideal play, but you know, whatever. We can
3
go-
health lost. If we lose by 3 health, that's
That's on me. That's on me. These guys are innocent. If we lose by 3 health, that's on me. I apologize. But no, we can go rabble, and then play the CNC if they Arsenal something here.
I would rather Rabble hit the mirror guy than
Yeah, I
pitch
know.
the-
Rabble the mirror guy, and then you know
Save the Rabble, the second one.
Okay.
yeah. I agree with Colin there. So if we're going to rabble into CNC from Arsenal, you instead of rabbling face, you have
Save the
open
rabble
Arsenal to
for a
save
dragon.
Rabble when you need
Okay.
it later.
Makes sense. So we
It's the
send
mirror
this
guy.
at mirror guy, and then hope it hits a red, because
Hit a
otherwise
red.
it's kind of shit. It's a red, perfect. So okay, that clears that. Okay, and then we go CNC from Arsenal, and then Arsenal the Rabble.
Yep.
Okay, sure, that works. And we send that at face.
I would be tempted to send it at the dragon here personally,
Really?
but it's
I'm personally favored for hitting the caster here, since they don't have a thing. Phantasm thingy.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what I'm thinking of here.
just
but
because they're
it's
on
a-
Arsenal, okay, they're clearing it out with the crown. That's fair, but it's still 4 damage. 5-card hand is kind of scary though, honestly.
yeah, it's a I
they
think
also
either
don't have a lot of ash, which is good for us.
That's true.
Yeah. I don't think attacking face there is wrong, but I think it's worth thinking about.
Okay, sweeping blow. I
Okay,
assume
Drew,
we just take that
You can
I
probably
would
block with one of your stealths.
with wither.
with a Okay. makes
I
sense.
agree.
Yep. Just to save the life because you can't use it anyways.
And then, we're hoping our turn looks something like Rabble, leave no witnesses if we get to pop a dragon with this death touch.
And
Second
yeah,
Mirage
another guy.
early.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of rough. That is a bit rough.
I'm
Block 5, to be honest.
Block with
Don't
the
give them
lead-
more ash.
block with the like. How would you block here?
Or actually,
I
block with
can't.
the infect.
I can't pop it, right? So
No. You want to save
I-
the death touch for your arsenal so you can play it later.
Yeah, because
Plus, you're getting a tunic.
I think now that Crown's gone, our turn is looking like Rabble, leave no witnesses, and then Arsenal the death touch.
okay, so we
Rabble
block,
the mirror guy. That's the big thing.
so we block with infect, and that's it.
Yes,
Yeah.
But then they still get the ash, right?
that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just save some life. Okay. Makes sense.
And they might swing the Margo here, but usually they never do.
I mean, if they do, I'm happy to pop that, Like, that's
Yeah.
fine. I can work with
For
that.
sure.
Okay, so we go Rebel,
Hit the mirror guy.
hit the mirror guy, exactly. Another red, perfect. Okay, that's good. Those are lining up.
That's the deck's called Redline for a reason.
Yep, absolutely. And then we send Leave No Witnesses at face. And they kind of have to give us some blocks here because that's 2 cards, 2 silver for us here.
Now,
Which
this
means
is going quite well
Their
because they've
Calorians
only
are pretty useless.
got one dragon on board, and we're still ahead on life. You know, we're still pushing damage. They're on 29. We're staying, you know, I described it as like treading water.
I think I let this resolve, and then I
Let it resolve, then you flick it.
Yep.
To be honest.
Yeah, this is great news.
Yep. So flick.
Flick the spider spot, in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, no.
The nerf scalpel, right? I think.
Yeah, no, nerve scalpel. I thought.
Yeah, scalpel.
Why spider's bite? That's interesting.
We didn't see any D-Reacts yet, so it could probably be holding some.
I feel like, I mean, I don't think either one matters that much because you're not going to use it aside from Ash Wings for the most of the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with scalpel for now. But I get the reasoning behind it. Like, makes sense.
They quelled it. Yikes.
Okay, but do they have one floating? No, they have to pitch for that. It's still a card from hand.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
I'm
still
actually
great.
okay with it. I think.
They quelled it with Silken Form. Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Either way, it was a good play from the Dromai.
Yep. That's a good use of Silken Form. Like, you don't see Silken Form a lot anymore, really. I think they're mostly on they're on Ghostly Touch, right? If they expect a lot of like popper shenanigans, or they're on the new one from Outsiders.
The outsider.
Which one was Seeker's Myths? Yeah, thanks. That's the one. Yeah. Okay, so we arsenal the Death Touch, and we got Tunic up. So that's good.
We also have the really good turn. I love this.
Another
so much.
Rabble that looks pretty good. Yeah. And they have Rake the Embers. That's kind of not so great, obviously, because that card is a huge. Yeah, I think we just have to eat this, right?
You unfortunately had to eat this, but we have a really good clapback here.
Yeah.
Now, my question is our clapback infect into Rabble start, or is our clapback Death Touch off Tunic into Snappies?
I'm thinking we block with the infect here and save some life and swing the Rabble on its own.
Yeah, when they swing with the Nuclear. Yep.
Yeah, when they swing with Necria.
And then there's the question of, are we spiders biting? I think we are trying to Arsenal Codex here rather than popping snaps.
That's a good idea.
So I think we spiders bite an Ashwing first with the shred.
So we just block the infect on Necria, right?
Block with infect on Necria, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make that
I'm
connect.
going to work out. No, I think we save shred to actually use because they're going to block 6 on the Death Touch.
You think so? You don't want to clear out an Ashwing or something?
Yeah, but clearing out an Ashwing and saving the Tunic is better. Yeah.
So I go.
Not to mention we have a Codex here, so.
Yeah, so I Rabble the Necria, right?
Rabble Necria, yeah.
I mean, that's just. I would start with this because if it flips a yellow, I can still dagger the Necria. I mean, it gives them more ash, but then at least it's gone. So, you know. Okay, yeah, we're good. That's
really good off the top.
Yep. And a Nimblism. Ooh, that makes me even more likely to save the Codex in Arsenal, right? Because I know I have a Nimblism next turn. So I can go
of course.
Nimblism, Codex, Death Touch, which is just, that's a filthy line.
And now we get...
I dagger one of the Ash Wings. So that's pretty good.
So, yeah, the basic... What you want to be occurring in a game versus Dromai is you stay equal life with them, and both of you just get lower and lower. Because when you're low, then you can kill them, and you're better at killing them than they are at killing you.
Spicy block.
So they probably have a D-React here, I think. Yeah, they got a sand cover, so...
I might flick
Let them have it. Let them have it. We need the pitch outlet.
Would you flick here? I don't know.
It's too early.
It's it's 6 damage.
It's too early.
I know it's too early, but that is huge. 6 damage. I mean, I would seriously consider this.
So you guys are kind of split about this, like.
Why does 0 daggers versus a Dromai is a really bad idea,
0 daggers,
though, especially with 3 Ashwings on the field.
I think I concur with Colin on this one. Like, I don't know, like maybe that's I need more experience with the matchup to know when to risk something like this.
I think if they were on 20 instead of 29, I'd do it.
Yeah, that makes on 20. Yeah. Like on 20, putting them down to 14 is huge. But here,
then because if you put them to 14, then you can ignore the board and then go for the kill.
Yep.
And so then you don't care that you've lost the dagger.
Yeah, but
they're
29,
a bit too healthy right now.
29, it's a little risky play. Like, it's a very tempting play though. Yeah. Or they have a sink below in hand, and then that would just like lock us out of the game. If they had another D-React here, that would be pretty awful, but you know. Okay, yeah, sweeping blow for 1. I'm never gonna block this. Nope, I'm good, thank you. Just give me 1, and they have an Asvolai, okay. I'm tempted to pop the Asvolai here if they attack with it.
Pop the Ashwing, save life.
Pop the Ashwing, send Hurl at the Asvolai. Yeah, makes sense.
Or, yeah, maybe... The thing is they've already got the... Yeah, see, I think there's an alternate line here where you know your next turn's strong because of the Codex Nimblism. You put them to 23, and then you get to... You just... But, yeah, it's always a tough call whether you're keeping on top of the board or not. Mm-hmm. The thing that our hand's good here, but we have one popper that's floating kind of... that we don't have anything to do with.
True.
You want to try a crown and see what we get? That's a little bit risky.
I wouldn't crown here. I'm just thinking... I'm trying to work out maybe your... Like, what are we doing with the...
You know what we could possibly try? Ooh. We could possibly Codex get a stealth card. Nimblism Hurl, then go with the stealth card into a shakedown.
Would have to discard.
Yeah, but we have to keep the entire hand. I don't like this because that's a lot of damage we're eating for like no real reason. You know what? I'm inclined to let the Ashwings through, pop the Asvolai, and then go pitch Hurl and the other popper into Spider Spite on another Ashwing, Nimblism, Codex, Death Touch in her face. What do you think?
That sounds fine.
I would, if I was going to do that, I would just pop the first Ashwing because you're saving so much health instead of waiting for the...
Yeah, but then the Asvolai is still on the board.
There is one line where you save Codex and you hurl into Tunic, pitch one of the reds to play Shakedown, and you pop with Death Touch, and that's pushing 9, and you get to save the Codex. Mm-hmm. But there's some good...
This is interesting because there's so many lines with this hand that you could potentially take, and then figuring out which one is like the best.
Can you check our discard real quick? Can you check our discard real quick?
Discord?
Yeah.
Discard. No.
Discard.
Graveyard.
Discard. My discard. Yeah. Okay. I thought Discord as in the chat program. Sorry.
Or no, we don't have a isolate, which is bad. So
no, we have no isolate in there. So I think I'm still gonna go like eat the Ashwings, pop the Asvolai, dagger 1 Ashwing.
I don't think you ever take 3 damage for no reason.
Okay, fair enough. So just pop an Ashwing then.
I mean, sometimes you just have to discard it. Mm-hmm. It's just the nature of Codex.
Okay, fair enough. So we go like Okay, I guess that's how it is. Okay, so I popped the Death Touch here. Fair enough. And then they either Arsenal or they make another Ash, I guess. They Arsenal. Okay, so I go Hurl, kill the Asvolai, Nimblism, Codex, Death Touch, right?
Yep.
I would hurl the Asvolai,
Yep.
Tunic, Pit Shakedown, Spider's Bite, and Ashwing, and then Nimblism Codex for Leave No Witnesses for 7 threatening Arsenal, which is still, Leave No Witnesses for 7 threatening Arsenal plus kill an Ashwing is, I think, better than going for the 9 off Death Touch.
And it gives us potentially silver because they haven't played a Caloria yet. Okay, I like that, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Red here.
Yep. Makes sense. That's probably better play, yeah. It's a good line. So we kill the Asvolai. Makes sense. Tunic.
Because they've already blocked, they have no armor, so that's going to strip 3 cards unless they have,
Unless they want to give us
defensive
the Furnace, which is like probably not going to happen because they still need that.
Too early.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, Nimblism.
And now they're only on 1 Ashwing, and we're still equal life with them. So the board's been reset, and we're trying to pressure them again.
And we're pressuring their Arsenal now for 7, which they have no clean way of blocking it unless they have like another sand cover or something.
If they have a third sand cover, I would be impressed.
It's weird because we haven't seen any other defensive cards from them, right? Like, it's kind of weird to run sand cover as the only one. I would typically expect.
I'm sure they're there. There'll be some sinks later, that's for sure.
Definitely sinks at least.
What? Their limits have the flame scale?
Ooh, okay.
I'll take
so
it.
I think I've got enough Ash.
Maybe they're feeling good about their Ash generation.
2 Ash, though, is very spicy to give away your 2.
I'll take it.
They must really like
card.
Do Arsenal a shred?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Do it.
They like to block, so it works. Not great to have another Tunic, another Codex here, to be honest, but we can make it work probably.
Pop it with the Death Touch.
Not the Down and Dirty?
Nah, we're arsenaling it.
Oh, right. Yeah, makes sense.
We're going to dagger with the Codex and NW.
Okay, and they played out the Asvolai. How do we do this?
Dagger, use Codex.
Okay. And then leave no witnesses?
Yep.
And then shred it? Yep. Okay, makes sense. So we just let the Asvolai live for now. We can pop it later if we need to, because they already played out 2 Miragai, so we know that's not a big issue here. Okay, so they take the 1, leave no witnesses.
I think last turn we were actually supposed to let the 1 Ashwing hit, because with only 1 Ashwing, I would prefer the pop 1 Ashwing, take 1 damage, then we get to pop the Asvolai, and then Spider's Bite gets to clear the Ashwing.
Double Enigma Chimera. Okay, so we shred one of those.
Right,
They run a lot of blues. This is a very blue heavy deal on my list. Okay, so we got 2 reds.
2 silver, great. Yes.
Perfect. So we're basically we're Caloria safe for the rest of the game, pretty much.
Yeah. No, this is great.
This is amazing. And our turn can be isolate, command and conquer. If all they do is do this.
Yeah, just let them keep the Asvolai.
Yeah, I'm inclined to just not
block with.
Do I block with
sedate?
Sedate? Just to save some life? Yeah. Makes sense. And now they Arsenal something. Oh, no, they have a Chromite. Okay, now that's a different proposition. No, they don't?
Are they?
I don't know. Okay, now they're not playing it. So we know they have a Chromite in Arsenal, which makes the isolate CNC line.
They were trying to decide whether they wanted to save it, because if they play it out, we clear it. And if they don't play it out, then they get to use it on a big turn next turn. Luckily, we've got the perfect response. Because there's no way it's sticking around. So that was a tough call from them. I think they made the right choice, but it's just unfortunate that we have
this hand, but it makes sense because they know we've already played like 2 leave no witnesses and 1 CNC out. So there's less arsenal threat in there now.
Spread the Ember Maw, then you
Yep.
command.
Yeah, so for anyone watching this, this is how you need to do this, right? Like, CNC is not an assassin attack, so I can't shred it. But I can shred the isolate, because that's an assassin attack. And then when I do this, the effect from the shred actually sticks around. So now this is a CNC coming in for 6. So even if they have a sand cover now, that's still going to hit them. And we know they can't have 2 because, you know, they already played out 2. So yeah, that was pretty good. We have a hurl, we have an E-strike, so we can clear some dragons. Pretty nice.
I want to see if they make any Ash Wings.
Yep. Are they just going back?
Yep.
What is this?
Probably miss a D-React or something.
Dirty.
Uh,
No,
missed their turn.
he skipped his turn. That happens sometimes, yeah.
Thank you, Talishar.
Yep. Now he couldn't play a D-React. Like, even if he has one in hand, he can't play it because of
Only if
the
it's sand cover.
isolate. If it was a sand cover, he could play that, yeah. That's the only one. Okay, he has raked the embers, okay. And he's playing Dracona Optimi. That explains all of the blues, at least.
I think he's attempting a pitch deck here, but
Do we pop this? Or do we not give a
I want to
shit?
say pop it.
How
So we
much?
can-
It's 6. How much extra? No, he only made 2.
He made 2, yeah. So it's like...
Because
Pop it.
he needed the 1 Ash Spear. So it's only saving 3 incoming damage or 4 of this.
No, we can E-strike, draw a card, pitch in the Wither, and we can kill Asbelai. Just get on top of the board state.
We can kill Asbelai with the hurl.
Yeah.
And pitch Dread to
Pitch to dagger and then E-strike for 7.
Yeah.
or
Yep.
I just take it here.
Yep. Makes sense.
They're on 23 as well. I might send all of it face. Maybe.
maybe kill Asbelai.
I think you definitely hurl the Asbelai. But then I guess the shred's stuck in your hand anyway. And nah, you might as well throw it. And we save snaps.
I mean, I just dagger, you know? Like, I just dagger with the shred, kill 1 Ashwing. It's not so bad.
It's going to save more than 2 health. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just keep the popper in case they do some stupid stuff with a chroma or something. Like, we get a better target for it later. So we hurl. Kill the Asvolai with it. Don't pay. We're good. Then we dagger an Ashwing, pitch to shred. And then E-strike for 7 in their face, I guess, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice. So, yeah, this game definitely, we've managed to keep, we're throwing something at their face.
Like,
While
we're
still,
at live parity and we're still clearing the board. This is going pretty well, yeah.
yeah.
I'm
And
not
we
in love
have-
with this hand, but it's still a fine hand.
I mean, it's isolate shakedown, right? You can't hate that. Or
Yeah, I
isolate
might,
spike.
How
we might,
aggressive do
we
you wanna
might
be?
use the shakedown as a popper and then just pitch the yellow isolate to bite an Ashwing and then isolate into spike off the tunic.
No, that's a good target to pop Necria.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, we just take the 1 here and then pop the next here.
Yep.
The thing is, I see a line here where we crack snappies to
I was
come in with
thinking
both.
we could do spike,
Ooh.
isolate spike, snaps, isolate shakedown.
Ooh, yeah,
That
they're on
seems-
16.
That
They're on
seems
6.
I think we go for
pretty
it.
dirty because that's what,
Yeah, and
12?
their board, this is...
Yeah, I popped the down and dirty here, I think.
Yeah. Good target.
Or no, I would save the down and dirty. I'd take 4
Really?
because
Just
you can
take 4?
stop a whole turn later.
Okay.
Not
What do you think?
I don't know. I think I would pop here.
use it. It's a Necria. It's a worthwhile target.
I think I would pop here, to be honest. Like, we got another down and dirty coming up pretty soon. Like, we only seen the 1 and we're like through half of our deck, right?
Oh yeah, good point.
So we know there's
Oh,
another
nah,
one
yeah,
coming up.
that definitely, I think that sells me on. here. If we'd already seen 2 down and dirties, I'd hold on to this because it's very important to have it when you need it.
But there's 3 in the deck, and we've seen half the deck, so there's got to be another one coming up in the next 1 or 2 turns, pretty sure.
Yeah.
So I think I block here with the down dirty. Just pop that, get rid of the Necria.
Yeah, I think it's about time where we go all out offensive.
And they're on 16, right? And you said that's typically where you go like full face, so that makes sense.
Well, it's also dependent on the hands. It's like we have a hand that we realize, this actually is good at pushing damage.
Yep.
So then now's a good time, you know. If our hand didn't do that, we'd stay clearing dragons for another 2 turns until we see that pivot point.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like it's always dependent on what the board state looks like, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like sometimes you have to do it when they're on 20.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Don't get the snaps.
Yep, good point, thanks. I mean, if they have their last sand cover here, that hurts a little bit, but, you know.
That's fine.
They don't. Okay, that's good. Then I go like this.
Yeah, and Shakedown is really nice here because we can remove their ability to push back because we're on 19, which is a Dromai can kill you pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But we just call red and then we take wherever has go again. And if they only have one card with go again, hey, okay, we're pretty good.
We also have a decent amount of ash, which is kind of a problem. Not too much of a problem, but now this is around the time where we go.
He has a sand cover.
Oh,
yeah.
We're definitely flicking here.
We're flicking here?
Flick it.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
It's around that time.
Yeah,
where,
okay, it makes sense. Yeah, if they're on 13, we flick it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep. Okay. Absolutely, yeah. And we choose red, I think, still, right?
Yep.
This is a Dromai, so. And Caloria. Okay, so the only thing they have left is the Tome, and they're probably going to try to answer that.
The Tome's bricked up because they can't use it without an action point.
And there's down and dirty, right? So, yeah. I think we just let this through, right?
Maybe the crown?
You might want, because we don't have anything to use this surgical for.
Yeah, crown and surgical.
No, I wouldn't. I might just block with the surgical.
Oh, that's a good point.
Block with the surgical, nimblism, sedate, arsenal to down and dirty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, just to push some health.
It's not a strong turn, but I mean, we still strip their blocks. We've forced a really awkward arsenal for them with that turn.
Yep.
And the safe versus dragons next turn.
Yeah, makes sense.
And we hope to draw a hand that can push more damage now.
And we keep the crown up. We could actually block.
You also take 2 from the blood rot.
Block flick knives here.
Don't do it now.
But yeah,
the surgical is just doing nothing in that hand.
It's doing nothing in that hand. That's true. I mean, I guess we could go like sedate, and it doesn't matter. They're gonna double block it anyways. So yeah, doesn't do anything here.
Even if they double block, that's more than enough for me.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Oh, what we should have done, we could have used a silver.
We could have used the silver to draw into something more relevant. That's true. Yeah.
But it would be a random draw off the top, and it would spend all of the resources. What could we draw into?
Yeah.
Maybe a rebel, but we've already used a lot of our go again.
Nah, rebels are out. We already played all 3.
Hurls are.
We could draw a hurl. There's one left in the deck. No, actually not. You only play 2 hurls, so, right? Like, there's no hurls left in the deck either.
Maybe E-Strike.
Only thing we could draw is like an E-Strike or maybe something relevant to switch into.
Like a Razor's Edge.
Razor's Edge,
Death Touch. A couple of options there, but...
I think, the 1 life feels bad, but it's still 1 life. It's still relevant.
No, I get it. Like, if we still had the dagger, like, 100% keep it and dagger, but we don't, so... And I agree, like, flicking in that scenario to push through the shakedown was definitely the correct play, I think.
It sucks being at 0 daggers, but
Yep.
sometimes you just have to go there with Dromai.
Yeah, but we have the down and dirty in Arsenal now. Like, that's a big safety net, right? Because we know they only have a single Miraga left, and they don't actually have any of their passing Mirages because they pitched them both early. And I'm assuming they're on 2 of them because you don't really run 3, I think, with Dromai. Okay, she's blocking Asvola here. That's good.
They take an inertia, which is fine.
Nah, they have a sink.
Or
there we
sink
go.
blood, that's
There's
fine.
a sink. We were wondering when those would turn up, yeah. But that's like, honestly, that's realistically like the least impactful sink below they could play, probably. So, and there's the other down and dirty, just like I was thinking.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I like this.
So yeah, we pop with the down and dirty here. Shake down, shred.
I might just take that one because you don't or block the flick knives because like oh no, they've got several.
A question
Mostly
here.
crown the down and dirty.
Can I turn on shakedown with flick knives if I have no daggers?
No.
Are you sure?
What?
I think you
100%
can.
sure.
I think you can. Oh, you have to target, and you can't target anything, so it's an illegal play. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm 100% sure you cannot target it.
Yep.
So our turn is definitely pitch a shred, play shakedown, and then
Yep.
shred when they.
Yep.
That's our turn. The question is, do you pop here, or do you just because this doesn't have go again?
They have no
right.
cards in hand, so or no, they don't.
Wait. Yeah, of course.
Oh no, it does have go again.
Yeah,
oh,
go
okay,
again.
yeah.
They played rake.
Yeah, no
I
cards. It's safe.
think I pop here with the down and dirty from hand.
Go to one with Arsenal.
Arsenal?
Yeah.
Just to give them less info. Okay. Makes
Of course.
sense. Yep. Makes sense.
Sorry, I'm used to the Legacy Teleshar interface. I didn't realize that the Ashwing was actually had to go again.
Yeah,
I
it's
am
like
also a
this
fan of Legacy.
little circle thingy, I think that's the one. Okay, so we play the shakedown, send it at face, we shred, and they're probably gonna block for 2 here, I think. And then we can just shred, activate it.
I'm expecting them to have sinks because they're clearly running D-Reacts, but they just have drawn them late, which has been good.
Yep, true.
For us.
Very good for us, yeah. But the thing is, we're starting to run out of threats a bit.
Yep.
Our deck's starting to get a little bit low.
Yeah, I think we have like, what, 1 CNC left?
We still have codexes. So.
We have 1 CNC, we have, I think,
They did not
1
block.
shakedown.
One thing that's unfortunate for us is because we had to block with the 2 spikes early. Those spikes are quite a lot of damage in our deck.
Yeah.
And versus Dromai, because we're using our poppers, it's really
They're
important.
going to
what?
2 here. Okay, that's,
Okay.
that's a spicy play.
They didn't want
Okay.
to activate it. They knew we had to shred. I guess the
Yeah.
thing for them is they have to block 9 cards. They have to block 9. Otherwise, it's positive for us.
I guess so.
That's an interesting play from them.
Yeah.
Stop it.
I guess I still pop it, right? Like I kind of have to.
Roma is always an issue. Pop it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have the 2 AP anyways. Like whatever I would pop, it's still
So
there.
what I see here is potentially play isolate and go for game.
Yep, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
Red Isolate, Sigil. Oh, no. They had the, I see. They needed the Chromai so that they could get the bricked tome out.
Yep.
That
But
makes sense. And so
that
they're
turns
going
over
to-
now, so I think
There's
I
silver.
pitch to silver.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good point. Yeah. Makes sense.
Really hoping for like an E-Strike or even just a popper that we can just float in hand.
Anything will be great right now. Better than this garbage.
That's true. Like double isolate doesn't feel
A
great.
Razor, Razor's Reflex, even just another Shred. But they might just
give me,
not.
let it
A
resolve,
swap
mate.
target?
Just give me something. Razor Strike.
Yes!
Oh, nice.
Perfect.
Yes!
Okay.
Okay, we're good to go here. Sometimes you
Thank-
just gotta believe in the heart of the cards and just hope they don't have a sink in Arsenal now. But well, if they have, it's fine.
Even if they do, we put them to 1.
Yeah, and we arsenal the Sedate, which doesn't feel bad, so they block 3, so we shred. Because it's a yellow, right? Doesn't matter if we save it for potential D-React in Arsenal.
So we're hoping that the D-React is in hand, because if they're expecting a swap, then they're just dead.
Nah, they have it.
No surprise.
They have it in Arsenal. That's fair.
That's fine.
That's fair. They still go to 4. That's okay.
We still probably have more shreds in the deck, anyways.
Okay, we've got an E-Strike.
I love
that's
this hand.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty
This hand
good.
is great.
That's a good hand. We can go E-Strike, go again into Sedate, Razor's Edge, I guess, for maximum damage. Or
we
if
can
they're
probably
low
put them over again.
Or if they're
Arsenal
low
the
enough.
isolate?
True.
Yeah. I think you push the vanilla damage here, pushing damage, and then you arsenal the isolate to try and get the kill on them next turn.
Yeah,
Or-
makes sense.
Alternatively, you can
Oof, Vinsarakai. Okay, that's kind of rough. Like that's actually kind of huge.
Okay.
I mean, okay, I can just block.
We're
6.
blocking that. We're blocking that with Flick Knives, Crown, and 1 card for sure.
Yep.
So we have to take these Ashwings.
Yes. We don't have a lot of poppers anymore, unfortunately.
we probably have one D&D left. Or do we use all of them yet?
D&Ds are out. I think we have 1 CNC and 1 Shakedown left in the deck. That's it. And 1 Death Touch, maybe.
Can we do the proper count? Because that's pretty relevant.
That's
these
kind of
days.
relevant, yeah. So we got
We still have
1
Codex left.
CNC, 1 Death Touch, 1 Death Touch. Okay, Death Touch is out. We got 2 CNC, 1 CNC left in the deck. We got 1 Shakedown left in the deck. And we
Yeah, but
got
not
no
poppers.
more down and dirty, yeah. That's
Okay,
1.
so 2 poppers left. 1 CNC, 1 Shakedown.
Where's the...
I mean, I see a play here, but it depends
Yeah.
on how greedy we want to be. We crown one of them. We crown this one and
we
try
crown
to
the-
sink this today.
I would sink the Surgical, maybe, because that's really the least impactful
Nah,
one.
you save the armor so you can block the.
It depends on how greedy we want to be. Is the question.
So, I mean, I'm taking that
I think
Ashwing for sure. But...
I don't think we're losing. Like I think we're close to killing them. So I think we play safe.
So, how do we block this? Double block? And save the
Block it
armor?
all out, yeah. Use armor.
So, how do I do this?
Flick, crown, and
I think
Maybe
you block
isolate.
surgical.
no, you block isolate, so you have more threats.
But isolate is a threat. I mean, I guess the question is on our turn, what are we doing?
Yep.
We each strike pit, bottom surgical and sedate razor.
Yeah. Okay.
Sedate
Yeah.
razors?
True. Yes. Because we have to bottom it, so nothing.
So we're letting the Vinsaraka live,
Yes.
I guess. Okay.
Yes.
Right, yeah. So I block Flick Knives, Crown, and Surgical, right?
Well, isolate.
I mean, it doesn't really matter which one, I guess, but yeah. Okay.
You can probably
Isolate.
sink the surgical and see what we get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
Makes
it's.
sense. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like,
I wouldn't sink it because
Okay.
if you draw into a popper, suddenly you don't want to E-strike it away.
True. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Like,
Oh yeah, good point.
yep.
Just pass.
That's a good point. Yep.
Either way, we're still technically threatening lethal.
Oh yeah, we are. Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so we go E-Strike, go again.
Yep.
Sedate, Razor's Edge it, and just
Yeah.
see what happens.
The good thing about this is the sedate Razor's Edge threatens them needing to block 6. But if they do, we get the arsenal.
Yep.
We can just not commit it, and if they don't, then we get to commit it and they drop to 1.
Yep. Or they're just dead.
Yeah.
If they don't double block the E-Strike. Yeah, they double block. Okay. Oh, and they're already through their pitch stack, actually. Okay, so that's where the
That's great.
Optimi came back. Okay, so we send the Sedate.
Thing is, there probably is a D-React in
With a
Arsenal.
little bit of luck, we draw into a popper. That would be pretty
Yeah.
good.
Check Graveyard and Banish and count D-React.
They have only played one sync.
I would say save it. Save the Razor.
They have a
I
sync.
would use it here. It's okay because it's 1 damage, which puts them to 3, which means isolate into something is
It's
lethal.
lethal, yeah.
Yeah, true.
I think 3 is an important breakpoint, and also they might not be able to play their arsenal. They have no Ash, so they can't play it if it's a dragon, and all they're going to do is attack with Vin.
I'm checking if we have any red isolates left in the deck, and there's 1, I think, left in the deck.
I think it's still Razor. Inertia is still great.
Yeah, true.
I think if we still had Spike with Blood Rot in the deck, I'd save the Razor because you can get to 9 that way.
But we
I
don't.
think the way we're winning is
Yeah.
by isolate into CNC.
And that way they have the inertia, so their turn is probably just Vin Sarakai, which isn't great for us, but, you know.
can
Codex. Okay, that's kind of good.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
I love this.
Okay, so we are just blocking 3 here.
Yep. E-Strike
Yeah,
into Codex, right? And then Death Touch, I guess?
No, that's lethal. I think that's it.
What do you mean?
They have to discard 2 Codex because inertia.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's true. So we just block.
So we block 1 card here, right? Because we might.
Yeah, probably.
Block isolate. Why not? Keep the NNW just in case.
Yeah, okay. Makes sense. So we take 6. That's okay. Not great, but, you know, eh.
Yeah, so this is threatening 11 on a turn where they only have 3 cards to block. So this should be GG's.
Okay. So we go this, put that on the bottom, and go again.
Although if they're smart, they can drop to 2. They can drop to 1 here and only block 3 on us, and that they could survive.
Question is if they see the Codex coming or not.
Yeah. So if there would be a smart block from them, dropping to 1 here, but then no, we don't.
It depends on how they block.
Yeah. It really depends. I think they're going to give us 2 here, but it's hard. Yeah, they give us 2. Okay, I think then it's...
Yeah,
All right, that's
dropping to
game.
1 with Uzuri is so hard. Like, it's so hard for them to commit to that. And then that's GG.
I think that's it, yeah. And I think they
Even
just
if they have a
realized that,
D-React.
probably. So we get the Death Touch.
Oh, nice. That was a good.
Well done,
That was a
well
good
done.
Yep, they got the Centipede back. I mean, props to you guys. Like, I don't think I would have been able to make this by myself.
Very hard match.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a brutal matchup, like, because they can claw back from so little if you give them a little bit of breathing space. Awesome.
GG's.
Very
GG.
nice. Very nice, yes. Definitely a good match. Played that very well.
I think this match did a really good job of showing, clearing early, keeping on top of that board.
Yep.
I was getting a little trigger happy on the flick knives, but Colin kept us patient. And then we got to use that later when we need. Saving the snaps for our pivot turn was very important because we had snaps there, which meant when we drew a hand that was a little bit clunky, we actually got to use it to push a lot of damage.
Yep.
It's mostly about patience in the matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you gotta understand how to best utilize your hands, right? Like offensively and defensively. But that was interesting because that's like the first Dromai matchup I've seen with Uzuri where it felt like you're kind of in control as the Uzuri. But they were on an interesting deck for sure. Like I think their only big dragon was Optimi. I
saw Tumultai as well.
You saw Tumultai at some point? I missed it, I guess.
They blocked with it.
So it was sort of a version of big dragon control, I assume. But I think they played a little too aggressive maybe early. I don't know.
I mean, the thing is, if you don't see Chromai, it's a good match.
True. Yeah. Yeah, like I mean, I realistically, I don't know enough about Dromai to really comment on how to play that as the Dromai, like this matchup. I just know whenever I play it as Uzuri, I'm having a hard time. So this was definitely very enlightening to see this play out and to see some of the lines you can do and how to correctly switch from clearing board state to actually dealing damage to them. Also, the situation where, like, when do you commit your daggers? When do you flick? That was definitely interesting to see. What the correct timing, the correct spot to do that is. So that's definitely pretty cool. All right. That was a very good match. I love that. So thanks to you guys for coaching me on this. It was definitely very helpful. Do you have any closing words? Any last words of wisdom that you want to impart to the viewers? Or anything else you can maybe take away from that match?
I'd like to just say once again, much props to Colin for making 10th place at the Calling Baltimore. That's an incredible result.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I think all credit should go to him for a great performance there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the thing with Uzuri is there's always a lot you can do. You know, whether it's Dromai, Oldham, Lexi, you know, there's a lot of lines, and it's really just about that blocking, attacking. It's the fab basics, which is why it's really fun to play. You know, who doesn't love a good mid-range deck?
Yeah, it's a deck that definitely rewards you for knowing your fundamentals well, right? Like it in that sense, it reminds me a little bit of playing Brute, actually, right? Which is where I come from, because that's a mid-range deck at its core, essentially, right? Like you have cards that block 3, you have some aggressive lines, you have some defensive lines, and Uzuri on top of all of that has a ton of disruption, right? So she just feels like a little more relevant, I think, and she doesn't die to herself, which is, you know, like I come from Levia, so it's always very good to play a hero where you can be like, hey, if I need to, I can just block with all my cards and I don't just die. It's kind of nice to have, you know. I love her. It's definitely a fun hero to play. So if you're out there and you're thinking about giving Uzuri a try, and definitely do so. She's unfortunately not a very cheap deck to pick up. That's maybe like my one complaint I have about her is she's really expensive to build. That's an unfortunate reality. One of these days, maybe we're going to try to come up with like a budget Uzuri list that can still get some work done. But for now, it's fairly expensive to run. But the deck's a ton of fun to play. And keeping your opponents guessing, keeping them on the back foot constantly puts the pressure on them, right? To answer your threats, basically. And that's a pretty good feeling to have, because they have less agency about how they play their game. That's always good to have. So it's definitely a very fun deck to play. There's a couple of ways to build her too, right? Like if you don't like this aggressive redline style, there's also more slower, defensive focused lines out there, decks out there. There's a deck tech video on this channel actually for one of those, so if you want to check that out. But today with Colin and Ben has been all about aggro, redline, push damage, and we just seen how that works. Even in one of Uzuri's traditionally worse matchups against the Dromai, it works. It's a great deck. Give it a try. Like I said, links down in the description. All right. And you guys have any parting words?
Practice, practice, practice. You're not going to learn this deck overnight, but it's definitely a fun deck.
That's that's pretty good advice. Yes, it takes a lot of repetitions to really get her lines down. That's definitely true. All right, that's it for this video. And if you liked it, leave a like, leave a comment. If you have any ideas of what you would like me to cover next in the channel, if you think we forgot anything, if you have any cool Uzuri lines to check out yourself, leave a comment down, and see you in the next one.